Hello, this is Alan Young. I'm doing a short video for my friends on Wood Central about this Bible case, trying to answer some questions. I thought a video might be an easy way to do that. First, I'm going to start with some questions from Bill. Bill asked about what the woods are. The top is sapele veneer, or sapele. I don't even know how people pronounce that, but so I've got sections running horizontal on the ends, and then a center section going vertically, and that's just because that's how much veneer I had left, so that's the way I laid it out. The veneer is over a Baltic birch plywood substrate, and it's edge banded in solid Peruvian walnut. Let's go down to the very bottom. The base is all Peruvian walnut, and then the main carcass is mahogany with a gel stain on it. The front drawers, or the drawer fronts I should say, are mahogany with just an amber shellac for the finish. And Bill asked about the drawer pulls. I found these online from Van Dyke's, and I was just scrolling through and I saw these and I thought, well, I think they might fit the look of what I have, so that's where I got them, from Van Dyke's. The other woods, let's see. The gold sections at the top and at the bottom are all white oak with a gilded finish, and if I have time in the video I'll talk about that a little bit. And then the posts are more Peruvian walnut. So I think, then the section dividers, mahogany on the front, and then more Peruvian walnut covering that with just a plywood dividers. So I think that covers the woods for the case. For the reading stands, which I've got set on the floor over here, the stands themselves are just mahogany with a shellac finish, amber shellac finish, over mostly plywood pieces with some hardwood mahogany usually, and I've given them some stain. The reading stands are mounted on Lazy Susan, so you can turn them, and the finish on the paperwork is, I tried to give it an aged finish, so I used a glue sizing with Type On hide glue, and then on top of that I just used the amber shellac, trying to give it somewhat of an aged look. The text for this stand is from the Old Testament passage, the Ten Commandments, and the text from the other one is from the New Testament, Matthew chapter 5, better known as the Beatitudes. So that's the reading stands. They each have felt on the bottom of them because they will be sitting on top of the case here. But I think I'm going to have a piece of glass made for it anyway, just to avoid any damage to the top. It's going to be in a library, so people will be using this piece. So I think that covers most of the questions. Ellis had to ask about the finish on the gold piece. Like I say, it's what I call the gilding, rather than using probably the more traditional. The words already escaped me. You'll figure it out after I finish the video. But I use this mica powder that I found several years ago, and I've used this on a number of pieces that most of you guys have seen. So you mix that to your consistency that you like. I usually mix it with shellac. In this case, the amber shellac, because that adds to the general tone of it. And if it dries out, now this one is pretty much empty, but if your solution dries out, you can just add a little denatured alcohol, and it brings it back to life. So that, in essence, then Bill also asked about the finish, how it's applied. In essence, everything is brushed on one way or the other. I brushed on the finish for the gilded sections before it got fastened to the posts. The base had to get brushed on after it was attached to the carcass, but before I screwed the base into the so the base is screwed from underneath. You can't see that. It's attached to this. Can come off if I have to when I go to deliver it, although I'm hoping I don't have to. One more detail. the whole piece has to, well, I've designed it to complement an earlier piece that I made, the Torah scroll on stand. So there are a couple of elements that hopefully tie the pieces together and yet let them stand alone. One is the gilding. So I used that on the Torah scroll, which you can see on pictures that I'll provide links to. The other is the fact that I don't like to say, here's what I did. I'd rather people just see it, and if they don't see it, that's okay. But as long as we're talking about it, the idea is that the whole top is a scroll in and of itself. So this one is pulled to the left, the other one goes to the right, and then that will enable to the other written word to come up and to be displayed. That's the concept. The last thing I'm going to say, and Bill asked about the posts, they are generally square. I started with round in my design, but then I went with a square feature, and then I decided I'd like to incorporate an element that seems subtle, but still ties it together. So while you've got the main part is square and rounded over, I attached another facing that's thinner and it's rounded over. The idea being trying to give it a subtle image of a book binding itself. So to imagine if this were a book that went all the way back, something you might pull off the shelf. Again, it's a subtle detail. If it catches your eye, that's great. If it doesn't, that's all right too. But that's some of my thought going into that piece. I think my phone is running out of time and this video might be getting a little wordy, but those are some of the details about this case on stand. And I still have a few finishing details to polish up on it, but it'll be ready to take off to its home in Grand Rapids, Michigan in another week or two.